Good morning, everyone. My name is Denise Lucy, and I'm here to welcome you to the Business Edge Briefing Series. Dominican University of California's Institute for Leadership Studies and the North Bay Leadership Council have partnered for a decade offering this Business Edge Briefing program. Our briefings welcome business owners and organizational leaders to share business strategies and techniques for businesses to be resilient and competitive in the domestic and global marketplaces. Our goal for these briefings is to ignite innovation, inspire creativity, and increase profits and productivity. And who are our speakers? They're engaging and exceptional business experts who inspire and educate business leaders to survive and thrive during tough economic conditions. We are grateful to Bank of Marin for their continuing sponsorship of our Business Edge briefings. For 30 years, Bank of Marin has been a leading business and community bank in Northern California, growing assets through local relationship building and 4 strategic acquisitions. Today, Bank of Marin operates in 10 counties with 31 branches across the Bay Area, also through Greater Sacramento and Amador County. Thank you so much, Bank of Marin, for being at our side all this time. We'd also like to thank our community partners, San Rafael Chamber of Commerce, the CEO Club of Marin, the Marin Economic Forum, and our partners located on the Dominican campus in the Borowski School of Business. They are the U.S. Commercial Service, which is the lead trade promotion agency of the U.S. government, providing counseling and support by trade professionals to help our U.S. companies export and increase sales in global markets. Please take advantage of these services at the Dominican campus. Also, the Marin Small Business Development Center, which we call the SBDC, provides no-cost business advising with experts and assists small businesses with obtaining pandemic funding, HR support, e-commerce, and social media setup. They offer pivoting strategies and more. And in the past year, they've helped over 1,300 businesses to help advance and scale. So please join us at our campus and be in touch, and we will provide you that help. To present our presenters and to moderate our program is Cynthia Murray, CEO of the North Bay Leadership Council. And Cynthia will tell our guests about she'll tell our guests about the North Bay Leadership Council in a moment, but I'd like to introduce her. Cynthia is the president and CEO of the North Bay Leadership Council. She serves on the boards of many organizations. They include the Bay Area Council Economic Institute, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission's Policy Advisory Council, Sonoma County's Health Action Council, its Business and Ag Consortium, and also its Employers Housing Council. She's also on the Marin School to Careers Partnership and the California Business Preschool Advisory Council. Cynthia chairs the Marin County Housing Crisis Action Group and is a strong advocate for new housing. She received the Women in Business Award from the North Bay Business Journal for her achievements in economic development. The North Bay Children's Center made her their champion for children. And she was the San Rafael Chamber of Commerce's Women of Industry in 2019. Prior to becoming CEO of the North Bay Leadership Council, she served for 8 years on the Marin County Board of Supervisors and 7 years on the Novato City Council, including 1 term as mayor. She has a graduate degree from Rutgers and spent 20 years in sales and marketing and is an adjunct professor at Sonoma State University. And it is my great pleasure to introduce Cynthia Murray, who will welcome our guests and moderate our program. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you, Denise. It's so good to see you and to see all of you. We have a great program today. North Bay Leadership Council is a employer-led public policy advocacy organization working on public policy issues such as housing, transportation, workforce development, education, climate change, all those things that are pressing issues for the employers in the North Bay. And I am very excited about our program today because every employer is telling us what a problem they're having attracting and retaining employees. So this is really on point for a big issue for employers. A little housekeeping, we're going to take questions at the end of all the presentations. So when you have a question, please use the Q&A feature and put it in there, and I'll get to as many questions as possible. I'm absolutely delighted to present our first speaker today, Craig Nelson, who is the chairman of the board of Nelson Family of Companies and Higher Growth Search. Craig joined Nelson in 2001 as general counsel and subsequently served as CEO prior to becoming chair in 2015. Craig is the recipient of both the Spirit of Marin and Spirit of Sonoma awards, a very spirited guy, and has been named one of the 100 most influential people in the staffing industry by Staffing Industry Review. Craig is also the author of the novel God Left Manor Farm. Please join me in welcoming Craig Nelson. Good morning, Craig.
Good morning, Cynthia. Good morning, everybody. Let me share my screen here. Let's see here. All right, great. So,
Not seeing your screen.
oh, you're not. Let's try that again. Good thing you're still on. Okay. Technical difficulties here. Wonder why you can't see me. I can see you. Let's see. Share screen. Are you seeing my screen now?
No.
All right. Let's try this. Can you see my screen?
Unfortunately not.
All right, let's try it again.
Cole, is there something that you could do?
Oh, share screen. Hold on a second. Share.
There you
Okay,
go.
now you see me probably, right?
Yes.
See my screen? Excellent. Maybe if I press the right button. This is the first time I've done this. I'm excited to try something new.
Well, we're glad you're learning with us.
I know, right? Okay, how's that?
Perfect.
Excellent. Okay, so thank you, Cynthia, and thank you everybody for bearing with me. Just a little note here is these slides are going to be available because there's a lot of information on these slides, and I have 10 minutes, so I'm not going to go through every bullet point. Feel free to ask me questions during the Q&A, or you can even afterwards, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. So what I'm going to cover today is, first of all, the current state of the job market, and then we'll talk a little bit about the reasons why things are the way they are in terms of why it's so hard to find folks and why there's such low employee participation in the job market. And then I'll spend the bulk of the time, last 5 minutes or so, talking about at a very high level what you can do, because I believe our next two speakers are going to talk about what their companies do as well. And I think that's the reason that everybody came here. So first off, this slide is already old, of course. This is the September numbers. And just adding some color to this, before the pandemic, the labor participation rate, which is the number of people who are eligible to work, who are either employed or are looking for a job, was about 63.5% of those people. Right now, it's at 61.5%. So that's a 2% drop. And when you're talking about hundreds of millions of people, that is a ton of folks that have dropped out of the workforce. So that's kind of the bad news. We did get some good news from the ADP job report today, which is there was 571,000 new jobs created, which in other words, new jobs that were actually filled by people. So that's good news. So maybe there is a little bit of a turning point. That would be great. But with an unemployment at 4.8% and 10 million jobs out there and the small labor participation rate, we still have a problem. So what's causing this problem? And the reason there's so many bullet points here is because it's a lot of things. The first three things existed: skills mismatch, high housing costs, lack of training. Those things all existed before the pandemic. And then we already had a problem. The pandemic comes, and then all of these other things exacerbated an already very difficult situation to find qualified candidates for the jobs that we all have and for the jobs that our clients have. I do want to point out a couple only because I found them particularly interesting. And I got these from a Barron's article by Lisa Beilfuss is her name, Beilfuss. And she writes on labor issues for Barron's. And I always find her analysis and articles super nuanced. And two things that she pointed out in her article a couple of weeks ago is that there's a significant number of new entrepreneurs. And to give you a statistic, in 2019, July of 2019, there was 300,000 applications to start a new business in the United States. In July of 2020, right, we're 3 months into the pandemic and the shutdown, we had 600,000, so double the number of entrepreneurs just in a 1 year time frame. And another thing that I've found very interesting is there's 1.6 million people who were part of a dual income family that are no longer looking for work that were working before the pandemic. And there's some reasons for that. One is there's no childcare. The other two I thought were particularly interesting, which is a lot of people have had an increase in the value of their house, the increase in the value of the equities that they might hold, and they are saving a whole bunch of money on childcare, and they have learned to live more frugally. So those 1.6 million people may never come back into the workforce, and a lot of those people were highly skilled people, and so that's another thing driving that. And those were two of the more interesting things that I found in terms of the causes as I did research for this presentation. So that's kind of, what the situation is and why we're here. So what can you do about it? And I see this as two prongs. One is what you can do. And, that's providing growth opportunities for your employees. That's investing in their training and upskilling them. And the other one is how you do it. Are you creating a culture where people want to work for you? Are you setting yourself apart from the competition? And I see those two things as equally important. And so, what can you do? One thing that you can do is you can either yourself invest in training and provide training for your employees. If you're a small employer, which I think a lot of folks listening to this presentation are, you can partner with your local educational institutions. It could be Dominican, the local JCs, and they have a lot of programs. There's private programs to upskill your folks. So that's one thing that you can do, is take your current people and train them for the jobs that you actually need them for. And you can pay more. That's one of the things you can do too. And you can career path. And we're going to talk a little bit more about career pathing and training, because that's super, super important. And then the other thing I would focus on is creating a culture of gratitude. Whatever your brand is as an employer, whether you're big or small or medium sized, expressing gratitude to your employees, making sure that your managers and your employees express gratitude to each other, and then hoping, but also expecting your employees to be grateful when you as an employer do something above and beyond. I think that's really key to creating a culture where people want to come and work for you and with you. Now, there's a lot of information on this next slide, as you can see, and they're very specific things that you can do during the acquisition, onboarding, and retention process. And let me just highlight a couple here because I think they're the most important. One is pay as much or more than your competitors. And that sounds simple and it might be hard, but then you're not going to lose for a dumb reason. Okay, so I would suggest that you do that. Then be very clear when you're hiring someone and when you're onboarding what their job is, what the expectations are, and what are they supposed to do and not supposed to do. But at the end of the day, honestly, I think that retention is going to drive your acquisition. If you have done the things we're going to talk about, which is career pathing, providing training, created a great culture, and you have employees that have been with you to 5 to 10 years, they're going to be your best marketing. They're going to tell your friends, come work for Nelson because it's the best place in the staffing industry to work for. So I would really focus on retention first. It will lead to acquisition, but these are very specific. What can you do things to improve your acquisition, onboarding, and retention? So now let's move on and talk a little bit about career development and training. Not only should you focus on the nuts and bolts of it, in other words, what is your career path, what kind of training and things that you need to do to take the next step in your career, and making sure that you do that on a frequent basis. And we'll talk about in the next slide, but also, ongoing communication about performance is, to me, the key. It's not just during the monthly meetings. It's not just during your review every 12 months, whenever you do it. It's finding someone doing something right and commenting on it. And it's finding someone when they're maybe making a mistake and guiding them and directing them in the course of that mistake. So it's not punishment, but it's empowering. And I think that's very, very important. So here we go, career transparency, just talking a little bit more about that. When you do your onboarding, yes, you talk about your goals, but you want your HR team, and if you don't have an HR team, you can do this yourself. You can go on the internet and get career pathing documents and just talk to people about, look, you're coming in and you're working retail as an example. And if you do X, Y, and Z, you work this long and you take this management training program, we will make you a manager of a store. And really dive deep into, okay, that's what we can do, but what do you want as an employee? And then you have to have regular check-ins that are scheduled. And then celebrate the wins. That's really, really important. But I can't emphasize enough the soft stuff here. So soft stuff here. Show empathy. Doesn't mean you have to have a ton of sympathy, but show empathy. Understand where people are coming from. We all were in the position where we were just starting out, or we wanted a promotion and we didn't have the skills yet. Figure out what is really going on in your employee's mind, and do that by staying close to them on a 24/7 basis. It's not a weekly or monthly check, and it's really understanding, and have very clear expectations. So there's no surprises. There's no surprises from the employee of, I didn't know that I was supposed to do that. And then there's no surprise when you come back and say you were supposed to do that, and you're holding them accountable, because at the end of the day, it's really important to not only make sure that you're moving people up, but if they aren't in the right job, to move them out. I know it sounds a little bit hard, but at the end of the day, it's in their best interest that they're not in a job that they're capable of performing well at. And then one of the things that I definitely would do is, let me just jump to the final slide here. Look, at the end of the day, it's going to be your culture that's a differentiator. I've laid out a whole bunch of things on these slides. You can do them. You can email me and ask some questions about doing it. But you have to do the soft stuff right. Treat people the way that you would want to be treated, and be grateful that they're working with you on a day-to-day basis. And then one of the other things I think that it's easy to make a difference is, your employees have specific community engagement activities they're interested in. Support them in that either with time off, or if you have the resources, with contributions as well. So feel free to ask me questions in the Q&A. That was a ton of information in a very short time frame. But that's why we're sharing the slides, so you can go back and see kind of structurally how you would do the career pathing and the training. And now I'm going to hand it back off to Cynthia.
Thank you, Craig. That was absolutely fascinating. That new data on entrepreneurs forming double the amount of companies, amazing. Remember, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A, and we'll get to as many as we can at the end. But as you think of them, put them in. We're now going to welcome Megan McDermott. She is the Human Resources Generalist at Overawe Construction, where she is responsible for their college recruiting and internship program. Megan works closely with the Director of Human Resources to recruit and place talent at Overawe. She spent 5 years working in higher education at Contra Costa College in Richmond, where she was responsible for onboarding, processing, and working with faculty, staff, and management, while also facilitating open recruitments. Please join me in welcoming Megan McDermott. Good morning, Megan.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm just going to start sharing my screen real quick. I'm so grateful to be here today. So today I'm going to talk to you about Overawe and what our strategies are for recruitment, onboarding, and engagement and celebration, because these employees really have to, we have to celebrate everybody that gets hired here at Overawe. So a little bit about our company. We are a general contractor that serves Northern California. We have some of the most top national and regional, we are actually one of the top national and regional contractors with award-winning projects found in nearly every Bay Area city. Our main office is here in Richmond, but we also have a satellite office down in San Jose. We have a lot of projects actually in Marin right now, which is exciting. A little bit about the history of our company. This is Carl Ovra. He is the founder of our company. He established Ovra Construction in 1907. He actually immigrated here from Norway, and he wanted to rebuild the Bay Area and have his family settle into Richmond, which is where he started Ovra. Currently, we are in our 5th generation of Ovra family. We've been around for 114 years, which says a lot, especially being in the competitive Bay Area. We are also proud to be a Bay Area best place to work for the last 5 years. And this is actually benchmarked, this award is actually benchmarked by employees. And so the long-term employees average length here is around 12 years. All right, so I'm gonna start first, like I said, talk about our recruiting strategies. So it all starts with effective recruiting. Some of our strategies that we use, we start with outreach programs to our local community high schools and our programs here in Richmond. We also get involved, whether it be with philanthropy and, just get our name out there to the local community and just make sure that everybody knows that Ovra is here for them. This year for fall college recruiting, we actually went to 10 schools, some of them virtual, some of them in person, to recruit for upcoming internships that we offer in the summer. Also, we promote to the union job fairs, and we like to use our job boards that are less expensive, but also promote the company's brand. And we like to network with the same job boards and really engage with those connections. Some more recruiting strategies similar to like what Craig was talking about, having a diverse staff on these recruiting trips. So someone that's worked for the company for 15 years and then someone that was just hired is very impactful talking to new employees. We also like to be really creative and nice to spice it up at every recruiting event that we do, just to keep people engaged, and people like to come back year after year because they remember, they're like, oh, Ovra, I've seen you before. We like to display our brand in every way that we can, and this is very important to very specific jobs. So also to something that we take pride in for these recruiting strategies, we like to meet with our committees. So all the committees that we are recruiting with here, all of our employees, we like to know our story, and we like to get together as a team and just make sure that we're representing a consistent message. I think that's important for employers and also potential employees to know that, like, hey, this company really, it has a strong message and we like to work for them. We also, if for some reason we can't find a specific position, we will outsource and we will use recruiters outside to help us. And we like to create networks there and select certain networks that will be good for us. So. Also, we take really good pride in having great offer letters and explaining the salary and benefits throughout our offers here at Ovra. And sometimes if you have the means, you can even offer a signing bonus. That is a great incentive for people to start working here. Now we're going to go into onboarding. So after you do the recruitment, you go into the onboarding section. So onboarding is really about making the employee feel part of the team from the second you start communicating with them. We are a firm believer in reaching out ahead of time to the employee, making sure that all of their paperwork is intact, providing them an agenda for their first day. We used to do it in person, but we would host a meet and greet for this employee to get to know the company, make them feel welcome, because that we are Ovra, and Ovra is a family-based company. We want them to make them feel part of the family. Also, we reach out to their team or manager to make sure that they're doing an event around lunchtime so they can get to know each other on a personal level, and we make sure that their work area is ready for their first day. We also like to go over their details of their job and their wages and their benefits, so that way everything is covered. They know that we've been preparing for this and that we take really a lot of time to make them feel welcome. We also provide initial training for their positions, and we also like to give them company shirts. You know, if you have the means, even if you don't have company shirts, you can offer, you know, to have coffee with your boss, get to know you on a personal level. All right, now we're going to talk about engagement. So engagement is really about retention and keeping the employees. So we encourage managers and upper management to have periodic check-ins with their employees. We offer one-on-one, so we offer one-on-one, basically evaluations, but as Craig also mentioned, you know, it should be a 24/7 job. Everybody's a real person. They have real problems going on with their families or, you know, their personal life. And it's important that you really are a big influence in their life. And they're a part of your team, you know, they're a part of your family now. So when you leave your office, it's really important to talk to people, you know, meet people in their zone and connect with them on a real personal level. Also, too, we have a lot of committees here at OVRA. We like to promote those and try to get as many people involved in them as possible. In this picture, they're actually building a little daycare shelter for the outside of a daycare, and this was all like volunteered. People volunteered to do this job. We also like to host events, you know, lunches for everybody to get together and away from work, so that way people can really get to know each other. It's important for employees to feel heard, and it's important for employees to feel like they're being heard by their boss and their team. So we also like to provide training. You know, it's OVRA is a firm believer in always wanting to learn more. And so, you know, whether or not it's an in-house training or outside training, we always are a firm believer in expanding knowledge on certain subjects. Also, to let the employee get involved in an area that they're passionate about. And then lastly, we like to celebrate employees. So, you know, along with engagement, it's really important to celebrate successes. And I think OVRA does a great job with that, expressing gratitude. So we celebrate successes through a recognition program. We have anniversary cards. We have a milestone anniversaries where we send out cards. It doesn't even need to be a big expensive thing. People just want to feel recognized, you know, and they want to feel acknowledged. And so if someone has a baby, we always try as a company to connect with them, or, you know, because we genuinely care. Retirements, marriages, you know, it's just really important to get to know your staff, whether it's a big scale or a small scale. Also, too, OVRA is a big believer in corporate responsibility. And our philosophy is to be a good leader, you must learn to lead yourself. And so we offer a leadership program for over 190 employees. We also offer tuition reimbursement, and we believe in lifelong learning. So that's something that is always important for us. And constant skill building is something that is always going to be attractive for our employees. And we like to share that with everybody. So thank you. I know that was really speedy. So again, if you have questions and answers, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'm so grateful for being here today. And I hope that you got to know OVRA a little bit better and a little bit of our strategies to retain employees. So
thank you so much, Megan. I do have one quick question from the audience, which is, what is the number of employees at OVRA?
We have about 170 office employees and then about 250 field employees.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your presentation. And remember, if you have more questions, please put them in the Q&A. And I will now go on to our third and final presenter, Tim Howard. Tim has over 23 years of experience in the hospitality industry with Marriott International. He recently joined Sonesta Hotels International this past spring in March of 2021, and now serves as the Area Director of Operations for 7 Bay Area hotels. Most recently, he was the dual general managers of the Sonesta Select and Sonesta ES Suites San Francisco Airport Oyster Point Hotels. That's a mouthful. Tim has served on several charity boards as past chair of the Nevada Chamber of Commerce, as well as the past chair of the Marin County Convention and Visitors Bureau. Tim, good morning. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you for being invited here. I'm looking forward to our panel discussion a little bit later. I certainly am not as of a human resources professional as Megan. I took a lot of great notes, nor am I as informed as Mr. Nelson, but I don't have slides to share, but I'm going to keep my comments brief. I like to think of myself as more of a 1,000-foot level guy in the trenches with the hotel teams. I was surprised to get Cynthia's invite and a little unsure about my formal qualifications to partake in the panel. But I like to think of myself as just another humble hotelier guy. But the longer I sat with it, the more I felt compelled to join the conversation because I thought it was productive to share my perspective here on the ground. So I think a lot of people here on this call, if you're in the business world or in the academic arena, have seen so much in the news recently about supply chain crunch or the labor shortage and the great resignation, the big deficit in jobs available versus people applying for them. We all agree that there's no doubt a labor shortage, and I feel really encouraged by the previous presenters here because most of my comments are right online with what they're saying. A finite supply of workers means that we all are competing for them, and we as business leaders need to focus on our in-house strategies and human capital plans, enhance them and get ready for a whole new world coming out of this pandemic. I mentioned the aging workforce, the early retirements of some. It's only going to be making it less and less available for employees. And I think my main message for today is that despite the scars that the pandemic has had on both our personal and professional lives, we have to recognize how it's impacted our society. As business people in the post-pandemic world, as we run businesses and we reassess the state of the business. I know it's November here in 2021, so my company's deep in writing budgets. We're figuring out where our customers are, how are our businesses doing, where our revenue is going to come from, and where is labor, and where do we need to deploy it. So, as every organization will plan 2022 as a recovery year, we should take pause and do an internal inventory of our most valued human capital and resources. Emphasis on the culture. I think both the two previous speakers spoke on that as well. I think it's very important now, more than ever. Employers are staring down a long, dark road, a paradigm shift really, on the way we've recruited, selected, hired people in the past. And it's not going to be the same old in the future. I know it's kind of just off the cuff remark, but I remember that Amazon commercial that's playing these days where you see these different candidates that are applying for jobs. They say they're dictating their terms and conditions. It's a little whimsical and ironic, but that's really what's going on. I want a full-time job, but I can't work daytime. I need benefits and they need to be good ones. It would be nice if you pay for all my tuition. Things like that. And that's really where I think today's businesses need to be looking, because what's at the end of that commercial? You're hired. Not many employers these days are truly ready doing the things they need to be doing right now to be getting that mindset shift. The employees have a lot of leverage these days, and whether it's the recruiting efforts or attracting talent, being flexible with schedules, having competitive pay rates, if not competing across industries now more than ever before. These are today's days and age, all these considerations that any CEO or business leader is taking into consideration. We also look at lowering benefits thresholds to make sure that we're offering medical benefits or paid time off benefits for less than just the traditional 40-hour-a-week worker. Remote options, hybrid options, if different departments and different disciplines can do work without having to commute, there's benefits there. The old adage in the hospitality industry is that we hire for personality and we train for competency. And that's still going to be true today, but it will be even more so moving forward. We're going to be doing a lot more training in the job for the job. And there's a growing demand for on-the-job training, creating a unique culture. The CEO's signature culture that they instill in the business every single day. Yeah, I think that's really my 1,000-foot view of things here in the Bay Area. You can always have initiatives and projects like environmental issues, career advancement opportunities, but I think that the everyday is when you come into work, are you thanking your employees for being there? Are you engaging with them on a personal level? And I love the previous speaker, Megan. She was talking about coffee with the boss. It's something that I try to do every single month as well. Find an associate that I can engage with, hear what's going on in their lives, and make some work family relationships. Everybody in the hospitality industry will tell you it's your work family is who you come to work with every day. So thank you very much. That's really my prepared remarks, and I look forward to having question and answers.
Thank you, Tim. It's really great to have you here. One of the reasons why I thought you'd be such a great speaker is because your industry has really been singled out as one that's having a hard time to do recruiting and find employees, because during the pandemic, you lost so many employees that the ones you had, you're not getting necessarily back. So we appreciate that. I want to thank Tim and Megan and Craig. They were terrific speakers. So now we'll go to the Q&A. The first question that it's not really a question, but it's a comment I'd love for you to comment back on it is, there's a feeling out there from business that no one wants to work anymore, but get paid twice as much. Is that something that you're seeing? Do you think that that is the case? And who would like to go first?
I mean,
Craig, you're going to have to put the panelist video back on. Megan's saying she can't get her video back on, please. Go ahead, Tim, you start.
Yeah, no, I'll chime in while Megan and Craig get their mics and cameras on. If I heard the comment before, are we seeing that people want to get paid twice as much? And what was the second part of it, Cynthia?
They don't want to work, but they want to get paid twice as much.
You know, I definitely will recognize that since the end of September, or around the time the unemployment benefits were expiring, there has been many more applicants than there were throughout the pandemic. That's just, obvious. And one thing I definitely see is in the hotel business, we used to look for salespeople or front desk customer service agents. We are not just competing with the hotel down the street or the hotel across town. We're competing with less than orthodox industries that maybe have bigger budgets and bigger payrolls to have better benefits. That's why I made the comment about Amazon. These bigger companies can hire and be much more flexible. And that's really what I see, is that the people that are looking for traditional jobs are starting to come around, but most people that are coming around are looking for competitive wages across industries. There are good people out there that are starting to apply. So I'm not too worried about the last 18 months. I'm more worried about what I'm seeing right now, the last 30 days and what the next 14 days are going to be like.
Thank you. Megan, did you want to comment on that?
Yeah, just sort of piggybacking on what Tim was saying, worried about the future. I think we all got to start looking towards the future a little bit more, and providing flexibility. I think the pandemic kind of created this thought in people's brains about work and life balance. For a while we were just, trucking along, and then now people had a really life-altering thing happen the last 2 years, and I think people are starting to realize work-life balance. And so flexibility is really key. How can the job be done while still making the employee satisfied? I think that that's something that is adaptable, especially in a company. And I think for future, that's something that we have to start thinking about across the board, globally, how can we create this work-life balance and still get the job done at hand? So always trying to reinvent and trying to see what works best for your specific institution. I think that that's key.
Thank you. Craig, when you look at recruiting right now, I keep hearing that there's more jobs opening than there are actual people to fill them. And I'm wondering, is that true in the Bay Area? And are you seeing, like, what's the length of time from a job being posted to the job being filled, and how long are jobs generally, staying unfilled? Is it weeks, months? What are you seeing?
So it depends on the role, for sure. And I'll give you guys a very specific example. We had our best month ever, well, in the 20 years I've been here, in September, of direct placement. But that's because we were going in on behalf of our clients and grabbing somebody who already has a job and then placing them with our clients. People are definitely willing to move. And at the high level of accounting and finance, or even the mid-level or technology, people are moving and they're willing to take a new job. And you can find people if you do all the things we've already discussed today. If you're talking about our winery clients or and our food and beverage, I won't name our clients, but we have 90 winery clients, and so they need to bottle. Getting people to come and work on the bottling line, you're never going to fill all those needs for our clients, because I think there was a big shift when the pandemic happened, and a lot of people moved out of state and or out of country that would typically have taken those jobs. And I think that's at least 12 months until that gets better. So it really depends on the type of position, how long it takes to fill. But all jobs are way harder to fill now than they were 18 months ago. It's just some are virtually impossible on a production line. We filled maybe 60% of it, where before we'd fill 90 to 100%. And so it just really depends on the job. And I think his hospitality is probably very similar to production, would be my guess.
So some jobs are hard to fill because there's a skills mismatch. We have jobs that require certain skills, but we don't always have the workers who have those skills. So that's where the training comes in. But I'm also hearing that a lot of companies in the Great Recession upped their job requirements because they could get people with higher skills for lower pay, because there was a desperate need. At that time, it was the employer had the edge. So are you seeing more companies actually evaluate what skills they really need and revising their sort of job descriptions or responsibilities to reflect maybe they don't need a college degree or something like that? And what are you seeing as far as any efforts maybe in the business world to try and do more to help get the skills that they need that aren't out there, maybe get people to get more of those skills? Are you seeing that too? Two questions. I'm sorry to double up on you.
No, that's okay. Let's go to the last one. Is there's no doubt that companies are doing both, right? So they're reducing their job descriptions. They're willing to have people do maybe split two jobs in two, because you can't get someone who has all those talents, to your point, right? Whereas before, I wanted a COO with an accounting and finance background, as an example, to come and help me run my company. Well, 5 years ago, you could do that. Even 3 years ago, you could do that. Now it's like, oh, well, you're probably gonna have to pay for both a COO and a CFO, and you're gonna have to spend twice as much money. I mean, that's almost like reality, because the employees have all the leverage right now. And yes, I definitely see companies, I mean, we're doing it internally where we're bringing people on board who don't have any recruiting experience. And historically, we just go poach from our competitors because they have really good training programs. Now we're at the point where we have to now train our own people. And we're training people, as you know, Cynthia, to become bud trimmers within Hire Growth Search. So we're doing it. And a lot of our big clients are definitely doing it. They're willing to bring in college grad, not college grad, if they think that person has the long-term, call it will-do factors. They can't do it yet, but they're willing to work and learn. They're willing to, that's how we interview for. We interview for will do, not can do, because if you're willing to do it, you can probably learn it. And I think there's a lot more companies interviewing for that now, no doubt about it. We're doing it, and our big clients in particular. Harder when you're a small company to bring people in and train them, because if you have 3 people in your company and you're working really, really hard and you need a new employee, having someone come in and trying to train them to do a job, I mean, that's a 3-month investment. So it really depends on the size of our clients too.
So we build this as talent wars, and you mentioned earlier about poaching.
Yeah,
That there is a real war out there for people, and I've heard, as much as saying you'll pay a quarter more an hour, you can take somebody away from one restaurant job to another restaurant job, that kind of thing. So
Hmm.
is poaching also increasing? And then we had a question in that is there employee purging getting to be more of an issue? So it's sort of interesting to me that we've got people poaching and then we've got people purging. Which one do you see going on, or is both?
well, if I guess you're asking me, I mean, that's why our direct placement numbers were so high, because our clients are paying us to go take people from their competition that are doing similar jobs. So there's no doubt that's going on, and people are willing to pay us retentions to go find people. They're willing to pay people sign-on bonuses. To Megan's point, they're willing to go above and beyond to find a known entity that already has the skill. And then, so there's two pieces of it, like you mentioned before. The purging, I think most companies purged at the beginning of the pandemic. I mean, certainly we had to reduce our headcount probably by 20%. And it's horrible to say, but you let a lot of people go that you aren't top performers, you keep them until something really bad like a recession or a pandemic happens. And I think the purging has already happened. I haven't seen that in the last 12 months. That happened definitely at the very beginning of the pandemic. People purged all their employees that were not performing.
Yeah, I agree. I don't, to go back to the previous comment there about the skills, there was a time where when we would hire a general manager for a hotel, and they kind of had to have a little bit of operations, a little bit of sales, and a little bit of finances, their background. And we could be so much more discerning. Now, if you've been an operator, we will teach you more things in sales or in finance to fill the gap. But that also doesn't take away from the fact that in our industry, there's so many positions where you can join in the hotel team as a restaurant server or as a bartender, and it may provide a little bit of a need right now. We want to pay maybe a little bit more than the neighboring restaurant down the street or a chain restaurant may pay. But what we offer you is a lateral move or a promotional move to a front desk clerk, from front desk clerk to an accounting clerk. And then all of a sudden you have an entire career from accounting clerk to a assistant finance manager and to a director of finance at a hotel. Or you could do that same route in sales. You go from the front desk to a sales coordinator, to a sales manager, to a director of sales, marketing, human resources. In our industry, there's so many different disciplines that have these silos, to say nothing of the operational role. So there are still pathways to, and honestly, people need to kind of come in with that mindset that if you haven't been a hotel manager before, you don't necessarily have the qualifications to come in and be a general manager. But what you could do is spend the 2 to 3 years you need to do doing the work. I give you my example. I graduated from vocational school in culinary arts. I found out that I love to eat, but I wasn't a very good cook. But it got me into college and then got me into business school. That got me a hotel job. I went from a line cook in a hotel to the front desk, the night audit, to an assistant general manager, to a general manager, and that's just been my career path. That's what we need to see more of as more people enter the workforce, is that you may not have everything you need to be that general manager, but you can go 2 or 3 steps of a career path and get there relatively soon in these day and times.
Yeah, it's
Go ahead, Megan.
It's the potential aspect, right? Like it's the drive or the will. If you see that in someone, at least I'm finding with these college recruitments that we're going up and down California recruiting interns for a potential internship for summer, and the intern then turns into a project engineer maybe in 2 years, and then up to a project director. And so it's the drive and the willingness to want to stay somewhere and learn and have roots in a place and really be able to see them grow and to see them shine and to help them through that process. I think you have to have the patience and the ability to do that at your company. But if a small company, it's a lot harder because, as Craig was saying, training could be 3 months of your. But if you're willing to invest that, I think it would provide longevity for your candidates. And that's something that I came from a place that had a lot of high turnover. And, now that I work at a place where there's not a lot of high turnover, you could really see the difference in happiness in employees all across the board, and people that have the investment aspect and the people that have the willingness to want to be here. There's a big difference.
We hear that our younger workers are more attuned to a company's culture that has got meaning and purpose, and that authenticity that you referenced earlier, Megan. And I'm wondering, when you are looking for someone, how much you can count on referrals of your own employees, referring people who they already see could match the culture, who could have the fit that you're looking for. And has that been a strategy that you've used?
Yes, definitely. So we have a lot of people that have been at OVRA for a very long time. And so if they know someone that wants to come in and get their feet on the ground going, we always get to know them and to see if it's a good match. But I think that is something that's strong, that our employees go out to other people and really promote us. That's something that is rare to find, especially nowadays, with the competitiveness. I think that it's very important for people, like someone that's been here for 15 years is involved in the recruitment process, and it's very key for that. I've also seen it really impactful at the career fairs to have someone that, yes, has been around for a while, to come and talk to potential hires. Just, it shows longevity, and it shows like, wow, this is a company that, has their roots and really knows what they're talking about, and someone that is vouching for it after all this time and is still so passionate, so excited about it. I think that speaks miles, especially to the younger generation.
Thank you, Megan. Tim, a question, want to know how many people your company employs, and you're covering 7 different hotels. I don't know which number you want to pull out, but answer the way you wish.
Okay. Yeah, Sonesta, that's a great question. Give me a little platform, soapbox here. So Sonesta Hotels is a relatively fastly growing company. Although it's been around for a very long time, had recently, through the pandemic, had the opportunity to expand by leaps and bounds. Under our managed portfolio of 260 hotels, we acquired Red Lion Hotel Group that added another 1,000 hotels. The last I saw, an estimated number was just around 2,000 employees US wide. We're the 8th largest hotel company in the United States, and a few hotels growing in, we have 2 hotels in Egypt, another business there as well. Yeah, we're growing in our above property disciplines, our sales and finance disciplines, new regional office in Orlando, Florida. But if you look at like my 2 hotels down here, I'm sitting here in South San Francisco. I have 40 employees across 2 hotels that used to be 110 before the pandemic. So our business is not even half of what it was in 2019. I was lamenting to Cynthia in conversation that San Francisco's hospitality market, one of the largest industries across the entire Bay Area, I want to say it's like the 2nd largest industry, is now one of the worst in the country. I think there's only one other market that's worse than San Francisco is in leisure and tourism. So our business has been really smacked by a lot of variables. I know a lot of businesses have, so it's not here to complain. But as far as employees go, at a hotel, average is anywhere from 20 to 40, maybe 50 at a good sized hotel. Some of our full service hotels like Emeryville or the Clift in San Francisco, they'll have closer to 100 employees. That's about average.
Thank you. All right, we're running close to out of time, so I want to do a final question to each of you, which is, if you want to win the talent wars, what's the one strategy or tactic or thing that you would say is the most important thing for an employer to do to win the talent war? And Tim, is it too quick to ask you?
No, I mean,
Please
the first,
go ahead.
yeah, I mean, the first thing that pops in my head, because I think, what I heard from Megan and Craig, I was taking notes because they remind me of the things that I need to do as the leader of my hotels. But the leader is the most important piece to win the war. You have to come in and be that culture. You have to act that culture. You have to be caring. You have to be thankful that they're there. You have to be the person that sets the tone and is the example. So for me, if you're going to win the labor war, look in the mirror.
Thank you. Megan.
Similar to Tim, I think that that's really key. And also just engagement with the employee. I think that's my key thought when it comes to that. That was my first instinct, was engagement and interacting with the employee on a human level, because we're all humans and we're not robots, and we're just programmed to work, but we're not like that. So I think that that is also key, to retention, is being engaged with your employees. And it doesn't have to be extravagant, it just has to be simple things. And I think that that can go a long way.
I think you're right. We need to really pay attention to retention, because it's a lot better to keep the good employees we have than to go find new ones to replace them. So great advice. Craig, wisdom from you.
I'm not sure I have much to add. I mean, I think their wisdom was bestowed. I mean, you just got to create a culture of empathy and gratitude and constantly communicate with people. And it's work. And sometimes leaders get so tied up in their jobs of their next meeting or their strategy or their budgets or what the hell their boss is thinking about them, that you forget the most important thing is who's on your team, and keep them on your team, because that's not only going to win today, it's going to win tomorrow, because that's going to draw all the other good people in your industry to want to come work for you. I mean, it's not complex, but it's hard to do. It's a lot of work. You want to do it right.
Is it different when you're trying to attract, a different generation of employees? So your Gen X versus your millennials. I mean, do you need different strategies for them, or are the basics the same?
I don't know. This might be contrary to what most people who are experts in my industry say. I think it's the same. I think people are people across all race, colors, creeds, and age ranges, and they want to be treated with respect and empathy and be appreciated and be understood. I mean, I think we're all human beings, and I don't think it's different.
So Megan and Tim represent industries where the people, most of their employees would have to be on site, but you're also recruiting a lot for remote work. Is there a difference in doing recruitment and retention for remote workers versus on-site workers?
Yes, I think for remote workers, culture is less important. Because a lot of them are going to be working alone, or feeling like they're alone. And in our space, we recruit a lot of recruiters for our clients, which sounds kind of funny, but I mean, culture might be a little less important for the place we're pricing them, because they're going to be a recruiter out of their house and really talking to people. The culture of our end user client is going to be more important to them, because they're trying to sell that culture. But yeah, I think culture is more important if you're going to be in person, and I think that's one of the reasons a lot of companies are going to want their employees at least in person some of the time, because that's how you drive culture. It's not in a Zoom meeting, it's working with everyone on a day-to-day basis, and the little small things, little discussions offline that are super important to building a culture. So I think it's definitely different in terms of what people want if they're working remotely or in person.
I think
We are out of time. Megan, go ahead real quick if you want to.
No, it's okay. I just was gonna say it's all about balance, and like trying to find that balance that works best for your company, because construction is a very hands-on, in-person industry, but there is that work-life balance. So you got to try to figure out what works best for your employees.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Megan McDermott. Thank you, Craig Nelson. Thank you, Tim Howard. We really appreciate your presentations. As you said, chock full of information. We will share the slides if anybody wishes to have them. Thank you, Dr. Denise Lucy, as always, my partner. And thank you to our wonderful program sponsor, Bank of Marin. Please join us for the upcoming and final fall 2021 Leadership Lecture Series presented by Dominican in partnership with Book Passage on November 10th, 5:30. Chef Lydia Bastianich will be the speaker, and you can get tickets at dominican.extendedsession.com. We thank all of you for joining us today. We really appreciate your participation. We hope to see you at our next Business Edge breakfast briefing. Thank you.
Thank you all.